Why smart people still fail and how to fix it. Most people live with a strange contradiction. They have talent, they have goals, they work hard, but somehow they still don't reach the level they know they're capable of. Instead, they get stuck in the same patterns, they repeat the same mistakes, and they start to wonder why success feels so far away. The truth is surprising. The biggest problem is not outside of you, it's inside your own mind. Your mind can be your strongest supporter or your worst enemy. This is the idea behind something called positive intelligence, created by researcher Shirzad Chamin. It's a way to measure how often your mind helps you and how often it works against you without you even noticing. And this is not just a theory or motivational idea, it's based on years of research in neuroscience, psychology, and studies with hundreds of thousands of people. The results are both shocking and hopeful. Most people are controlled by negative mental patterns more than half of the time. But the good news is this can be changed. What follows is a deeper look into the hidden programs in your mind and how they quietly shape your life without your awareness. These programs are called saboteurs, automatic patterns that were formed early in life and still run your behavior today. And alongside them, there is another part of you, a calmer, wiser voice called the sage. Most people barely use it. But once you learn how to access it, everything starts to change. Because research shows your brain is not fixed, it can be rewired. And small mental shifts can lead to big changes in how you think, feel, and perform. Chapter 1. The invisible battle within research shows that only about 20% of teams and individuals achieve their true potential. The culprit isn't lack of talent, resources, or opportunity. It's an internal struggle between competing mental forces that most people never learn to recognize. Shamin introduces positive intelligence, PQ, as a percentage measuring how much of the time your mind operates as your friend versus your enemy. When your PQ is high, your thoughts serve your best interests. When it's low, your mind actively sabotages your efforts in ways so subtle you mistake the sabotage for helpful vigilance. This conflict plays out through two primary mental modes. Your saboteurs represent automatic patterns that generate stress, frustration, and self defeating behaviors. These mental habits typically develop in childhood as survival mechanisms but persist long after they've outlived their usefulness. Working against them is your sage, the part of your mind capable of calm wisdom, creative problem solving, and authentic action. The research backing PQ is compelling. Analysis of over 200 studies reveals that higher PQ correlates with increased salary, better health, stronger relationships, enhanced creativity, and greater resilience. Teams led by higher PQ managers consistently outperform others, while employees with higher PQ take fewer sick days and report greater satisfaction. Shamin's personal journey illustrates these concepts powered Tully. Growing up in Iran during political upheaval, with parents too preoccupied to provide consistent attention, he developed patterns of harsh self judgment and relentless achievement seeking. Even after significant external success, graduating from Stanford, becoming a CEO, he found himself caught in cycles of stress and dissatisfaction. The breakthrough came during an MBA class exercise that revealed how his childhood coping mechanisms had become adult saboteurs, driving him toward accomplishments that never delivered lasting satisfaction. This recognition led to years of research developing practical methods for strengthening mental fitness, ultimately helping thousands access more of their true potential while experiencing greater peace. Chapter 2. Meet the voices in your head. Everyone has them. These inner patterns are not rare and they are not personal flaws. They are universal. They form naturally during childhood as the mind tries to protect you from stress, conflict, and emotional pain. At that time, they are helpful. They help you adapt, survive, and understand the world around you. But later in life, they often stay active long after they are needed, like a medical cast on a healed bone. What once protected you can start limiting you. At the center of all saboteurs is one main voice. It is called the judge. The judge is the internal critic that constantly evaluates everything. It criticizes you, it criticizes others, it criticizes your life situation. And it does this so often that it starts to feel normal. It creates much of the anxiety, stress, frustration, guilt, and shame people experience. But here is the tricky part. It doesn't feel harmful, it feels useful. It tells you things like, if I'm hard on myself, I'll improve. If I judge others, I won't get disappointed. If I stay critical, I'll stay safe. Shirzad Shamin discovered that his own judge formed in childhood because his parents were often distracted and emotionally unavailable. His young mind created a belief, I must be not good enough. That belief turned into constant self criticism, and later in life, it drove him toward overachievement, always trying to prove his worth. Even after reaching major success, the inner pressure didn't stop because the judge was still running the system. But the judge is only one part. There are also 9 other saboteurs, each with a different strategy. The stickler pushes perfection and control. The pleaser seeks approval from everyone. The hyperachiever ties self-worth to constant success. The victim uses emotional intensity to gain attention and sympathy. The hyper-rational relies only on logic and ignores emotions. The hypervigilant always scans for danger and worst-case scenarios. The restless avoids discomfort by staying constantly busy. The controller needs to be in charge to feel safe. The avoider delays difficult tasks and avoids conflict. Most people don't have just one, they have combinations, and when saboteurs combine, they become even stronger. For example, a stickler plus judge can create perfectionism that makes action almost impossible. A pleaser plus judge can lead to constant self sacrifice and exhaustion. But the most important insight is this: you cannot win by fighting them directly. The more you fight them, the stronger they become. Instead, the key is awareness. When you notice a self critical thought, you don't argue with it, you simply label it. This is the judge. That small shift changes everything because now you are no longer inside the thought, you are observing it. And once you see it clearly, it starts to lose power, like shadows disappearing when light is turned on. Chapter 3. How to Think Without Sabotage. Inside every mind, there are 2 forces. One is loud, reactive, and fear-based. The other is calm, clear, and wise. The saboteurs come from survival and fear. But there is another part of you that comes from something deeper. This is called the sage. The sage is the part of your mind that can see clearly, even in difficult situations. It doesn't deny problems, but it doesn't get trapped in them either. Instead, it works from a simple belief. Even hard situations can contain value, growth, or opportunity. And unlike saboteurs, the sage doesn't push you through fear. It pulls you forward through clarity, curiosity, and purpose. The sage has 5 core abilities, and 1. Empathize. This is the ability to understand yourself and others with kindness instead of judgment. It directly replaces the harsh voice of the judge. Instead of criticism, there is compassion. One powerful way to build this skill is to imagine yourself as a child. Before stress, expectations, and pressure shaped you, it becomes easier to see that your worth was never based on performance. 2. Explore. This is pure curiosity. The sage doesn't rush to conclusions, it asks questions instead of making assumptions. While saboteurs narrow your thinking, the sage expands it. A helpful practice is to become a fascinated observer, like an anthropologist studying human behavior. You don't try to fix everything, you simply try to understand it. And in that space, new insight appears naturally. 3. Innovate. This is the ability to create new ideas without immediate judgment. Saboteurs often shut creativity down with criticism too early. The sage does the opposite. It allows ideas to flow freely first. A simple method is the yes and your approach. Instead of rejecting ideas, you build on them. One idea leads to another, and creativity begins to move again. 4. Navigate. This is your inner direction system. The sage helps you make decisions based on values, not fear. It connects you to what truly matters in your life. One powerful exercise is the flash forward technique. You imagine yourself at the end of your life looking back. You ask, what choices would I wish I had made starting today? This shifts perspective immediately, away from fear and toward meaning. 5. Activate. This is the ability to take action without overthinking. The sage doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It acts from clarity, not anxiety. This creates what feels like clean action, calm, focused, and steady. It is not driven by pressure or fear, but by purpose and curiosity. The difference between the two is powerful. Saboteurs push you through fear, stress, and obligation. The sage pulls you forward through inspiration and possibility. And that difference doesn't just change what you achieve, it changes how you feel while achieving it. Chapter 5. The point where everything starts working. When your PQ starts to increase, something important begins to change. It doesn't just affect how you think, it affects your relationships, your work, and your entire life. But the shift is not gradual in a straight line. It follows a key turning point called the PQ tipping point, around 75%. Below this level, people and teams tend to stay stuck in negative cycles. Stress leads to more stress. Mistakes lead to blame. Pressure leads to burnout. Everything feels like it is pulling downward. But once PQ rises above 75%, something different happens. The system flips. People begin to experience upward momentum instead of constant struggle. Motivation feels more natural. Collaboration becomes easier. Problems feel more solvable. This is not theory. Research supports it. For example, healthy, thriving relationships often show PQ levels around 82%. Relationships that are breaking down tend to be around 41%. The same pattern appears in teams. High-performing teams consistently operate above the 75% level. Struggling teams stay below it. The human mind is built for cycles. Negativity feeds more negativity. Positivity creates momentum that builds on itself. This is why small changes in mindset can create large changes in results. PQ principles affect many areas of life. Team building. Real improvement in teams doesn't come from rules or pressure alone. It comes from the emotional energy inside the group, what can be called the PQ channel. This is the tone behind words, not just the words themselves. In meetings, for example, you can notice something important. Are people asking questions to blame, or are they asking to understand? Blame reflects saboteur energy. Curiosity reflects sage energy. Shifting a team toward curiosity changes everything. Conflict resolution. From the sage perspective, conflict is not a problem to destroy. It is a signal for deeper understanding. Instead of focusing on positions, what I want, the focus shifts to aspirations, why I want it. When people feel truly heard, something changes. Defensiveness drops. Understanding increases. New solutions become possible. Often solutions appear that no one considered before. Influence and persuasion. Data alone is rarely what changes people's minds. Most decisions are driven first by emotion and intuition. Facts come later to support the decision already made. This is why energy matters more than arguments. If you want to influence others, the first step is your own state. When you are in a genuine sage state, it naturally affects people around you, but forced positivity doesn't work. People can feel the difference. Real change only happens when authenticity is present. These ideas apply everywhere: work, relationships, parenting, performance, problem solving, even how you find meaning in daily life. The core pattern is always the same. When you move from reactive survival thinking into calm, clear awareness, everything starts to shift. Not just results, but the experience of life itself.